It's time for another episode of First Alarm Family First. I'm Jen Herrera alongside Carolyn Acosta. As always, we have a special guest. And Carolyn, I'm loving the decor behind our special guest today.
Yes, today we are joined by Mike Combs, a dedicated firefighter who served Broward County Fire Rescue for over 30 years, rising through the ranks of firefighter, paramedic to captain. In his career, it included hazmat team, worked with fire inspection, plant examiners, and led major projects in Fort Lauderdale Airport and Cleveland Clinic. Beyond the badge, though, Mike is a proud father, husband, grandfather, a two-time cancer survivor. In this episode, we're just going to talk about life after retirement and the challenges first responders face when the job ends. Hi, Mike. Thanks for
Hi.
being on. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I got into the fire department back in 1984 through my father-in-law. He was a volunteer firefighter for the county, and so I joined that, and then went to the fire academy. And a few years later, was hired as a professional firefighter, and the career just took off from there.
What's your biggest takeaway, Mike? I mean, I know that's kind of hard to pinpoint, I imagine, but when you look back at your career now, like what's your biggest takeaway from all of those decades spent serving?
I would say mostly the special projects I was involved with, like especially the hazmat team. Um, I always looked for the weak portion of anything I was involved with, and in the hazmat team, we never had a sound um, chemical database to research on things. And then I got into a program that the federal government has. It's called Cameo, and you can actually map out a scenario of a chemical spill or whatever. So, and one of the things we were trying for years, there was a place in Fort Lauderdale just off of 95. It's called Jones Chemical, and they filled chlorine and anhydrous ammonia. Um, just a block away, there was a preschool,
Hmm.
and there was always leaks, and the preschool would complain, and we tried many times to get rid of them, but then 9/11 came along, and uh, the FBI came to visit our station and was talking and saying, what's the biggest hazards? We're concerned about Port Everglades, the fuel tankers and whatnot. And I said, I'll show you what's the biggest hazard. And I showed them just one rail car, which would be marked as empty, but actually still has 3,000 gallons of chlorine in it. And I did a little scenario on the map of what would happen over time, and the kill zone of where it would kill people and everything. And it basically took all of Broward County out, part of Palm Beach and part of Dade County.
Mm.
So next thing I know, a week later, Jones Chemical wasn't there no more.
You took care of it.
So that was the biggest accomplishment, I think, in my career.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And it's not like I want to put a business out of business,
No.
but
No.
when there's a risk to life, it's not worth it.
Mike, after such a long, impactful career, what is the transition into retirement like for you, like emotionally and mentally?
For me, I mean, you spent over 30 years doing the same job,
Mm-hmm.
having the responsibility, going to work every third day, um, and then it's time to retire. Your whole life changes real quickly, and so I transitioned to being retired, um, and I realized, wow, I have a family here that I missed a lot, and I realized now, okay, I can't expect them to change their lives because now I'm here all the time. I need to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
think it's a huge point to bring up. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that did you come to that on your own or did your wife kind of say, hey? Get on board
Well,
with what's happening in this house.
no, I kind of figured it out, because
Yeah,
and realized, okay, they make their plans of what they're doing,
right.
um, and one's going this way, this person's going that way, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, I gotta change course here.
Yeah. We had that realization recently in our house because my husband went from 24 on to 48 off to 410s. And, he's home now all the time. And he's like, wait, where's everybody going? Wait, they're allowed to do this. Wait, they're allowed to do that. Wait, hold on. I'm like, hey, just
Yeah.
Yep,
stand by. This is our routine. This is how it works. I love the adjustment that you talked about as far as learning that or realizing it, not learning it, but
yeah,
realizing that early on. What about identity, Mike? I
Mhm.
mentioned the decor behind you. You've got the axe, you've got the helmet, you have certificates, you have all sorts of stuff up there. Your identity, how was it affected once that
huge,
last shift happened?
huge,
Yeah.
huge, and especially I was at the end of my career. I was in the fire marshal's office, and I was on 410s,
Mhm.
but I had a lot of responsibility. I was a captain, but basically in the fire marshal's office, I was considered a an assistant fire marshal, and working with big projects, and you know because of the position I was in, I mean, people would do anything that I said. You know, you need to fix this. We need to do this. We need to change this on the plans. So when I retired, it's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm nobody, and that was difficult, and it's still difficult at times.
Right. Yeah. I think there's like a misconception sometimes with retirement because you kind of forget, like, what am I going to do then once you retire? Do you think that there's like a support system? Would you feel like there is, or should there be one, or is there a lack of one for retirees?
I lost the audio.
Yeah, Carolyn, your audio cut out.
Were there any like resources or support systems like for retirees, or do you feel like
No,
there's a lack of?
there's probably a lack of.
Hmm.
I think that's a big thing that they probably need. Say, say your last 5 years,
Yeah.
going into the drop, and that's a scary moment when you sign those papers to go into the drop,
Hmm.
because you realize, okay, I got 5 more years and that's it.
Right.
Um, so I think like the military, when you get out of the military, they have programs to transition you, and I think the fire department could use that.
Mike, I think it's interesting that you said how you felt when you left, that you said, I'm nobody. Obviously, you're not nobody. Obviously, you are somebody. No, there's not that executive role, if you will, any longer career wise, but you're still a huge person and have a huge impact on your family. With that said, if you were part of a team who handled that transition period for newly retired firefighters or firefighters who were 5 years away from retirement, what would you say to them now so that they don't carry that I'm nobody mentality?
Um, I would tell them that they would have to basically handle the end your career, put it in a box to the side. It was great. You had a good run. Put it off to the side, just like we do when we have bad calls. We try to just box it up, the memories, the views, and everything,
Mhm.
and realize that actually now, it's a more important role to be continue now to be a full time husband
Right.
and be part. I don't want to say that we weren't part of a marriage, but you know, there was breakaways when
Yeah,
you're married, when you're fire department. You don't exist for 24 hours.
yeah.
Right.
Sometimes longer.
Sometimes
It's,
longer. Yes. Yep.
what role
So,
has your family played in healing that transition?
a lot, a lot. My wife has helped a lot. Um, she can recognize when I'm being, something's bothering me.
Hmm.
We go out and I see something that's not right in a place, and I go, this can't be. This is not. this is dangerous. She's like, "Hun, you don't have that role anymore.
Yeah.
Leave it to the ones that are there." So, and incidents like that can be very disrupting to a dinner or going to a concert somewhere. You see something wrong, and my mind's going to the career avenue,
Yeah.
and I'm missing out on the enjoyment.
Yeah.
So she's helped a lot,
It's so
and
true. Go ahead. Sorry.
and grandkids have helped. They keep me busy. They keep
Mhm.
us busy.
I
So
love that. I bet you're a very hands-on grandpa.
yes, yes, they live with us. So it's a little bit more hands on, but um, it's very enjoyable. And I realize that I have more a more important family role now.
Yeah. Mike, you mentioned, boxing up the career, right? And putting it aside and focusing on this new stage in life. And you alluded to how a lot of times first responders box up the emotions, the reaction, how they felt after a certain call. That's not necessarily always a good thing though, is it? Not
No,
about
no,
the call, a debrief after that kind of a call.
y- yeah, you box it up, but it'll still surface from time to time. And I would say, especially when you retire,
How so?
because now you're driving around town, you're going to the mall with the family, and you remember a bad call here, you remember a bad call there, and everything starts surfacing.
Yeah.
And so you have to, I don't, you have to unbox it and deal with it properly, to say. But
Yeah.
I mean, what's the proper way of dealing with some of the things that we see? I don't even think the counselors can understand that. I mean, a firefighter's mentality is totally different. I mean, even when we are working and there's a party somewhere else, that's not with the fire department. Our idea of humor is not what other people's humor is. So you tend to just be quiet when you go somewhere else that's not involved with fire department people, because over time you realize, oh wow, I shouldn't have said that. They don't see things we see it.
Hobbies, Mike. What have you found to do for fun in addition to your grandchildren? I know you mentioned they live with you. How are you keeping yourself busy? Because I think that's something that not just firefighters, but police, retirees, period, but especially you first responders. What is keeping you busy?
I really don't have any hobbies, but I had a big laundry list of things to do around the house when I retired. So I've been working on those, um, and it's just, yeah, I don't. It's strange because all of a sudden, over time, all of a sudden, your life is actually busier than when you were working,
Mm-hmm. I can
and
see
so
that.
it's just life just has its ways of filling in the time.
My dad is retired. He's been retired, gosh, I think 20 years now from Miami-Dade Fire. He still talks about how great it is not to wake up to an alarm clock or not to be woken up in the middle of the night. That's like his thing, right? Do you feel that way too?
Yes, yeah, it's nice, but um, talking with other retirees, uh, even after you retire, it's difficult to go to sleep at, say, 9 o'clock and
Yeah.
sleep till 9 o'clock the next morning. Our systems hadn't done that for 30 years.
Right.
So uh, basically, you sleep in intervals of, say, 2 hours, or 2.5 hours, or 3 hours, and you wake up and then you're up for a half hour and then you go back to sleep. So,
That's interesting that you said that because I'm just going to speak on my dad's behalf because I don't know about how everybody else, but he has a hard time staying asleep. And I
yeah,
never thought that that could be part of it.
yeah, yeah. You talk to a lot of retirees, and still, I mean, I'm 7 years out of retirement. I retired in 2017. Still, I don't sleep fully all the way through the night.
Wait, you retired in 2017.
Yes,
Okay. So that's okay. So that's almost 10 years.
almost 10 years. Yeah.
How long did you enjoy it? Let me ask you that question. How long did you actually enjoy? Not that you're not enjoying it now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it sounds like you've had those like moments that, the identity moments, the natural thing, natural reaction I think everybody who retires probably has. Was there like an enjoyment period where like this is so cool, I don't have to go anywhere?
I would say not until maybe 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a long time to struggle with this new lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
it tears in not it tears in your mind, because it takes time to transition into the full time family life.
How was your last day, your last shift? I know you said at the end of the career you were on 410s, and I should point out Carolyn lost her internet signal. She just messaged me,
Okay.
so that's why she had
Yeah.
to go off, and hopefully she'll try to come back in. But how was that last shift? Because we've spoken with people on this show. A police officer, I'll use his example, where he had this like amazing career, kind of like you, did all sorts of different things, held all sorts of important ranks. And his last day, he like went in and signed a paper, walked outside, and that was it. He turned his patrol car in and was like, "How am I getting home?" Was it kind of like that?
Yeah. I mean, again, I was on 410s, but I can't say it was like just one day or like one last 24-hour shift, but um, it was kind of heartbreaking over a period of a week because it's like, okay, give us your radio,
Right.
give us your cell phone, um, your personal phone, take all the business contacts out. Uh, I had Port Everglades clearance ID. I had Fort Lauderdale Airport clearance ID. So it's like turn those in. So it was like a 4 day period of letting things go.
Yeah. That's heavy. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
We were talking with a former chief who said he always hated checking his emails. Like he thought checking his email was the most annoying thing in the world. And the day after he retired, he like went to go check an email, and he had his email account no longer existed.
Oh, that was a huge one for me because it was like I did email first thing in the morning, read through them, for different portions of the day, and same thing. My work email was gone. It was like, I, and that's okay. Now I'm nobody.
Yeah. But again, we know that you're not nobody.
Yeah.
You're somebody hugely, hugely important. You mentioned the importance that you would like to see some sort of a transition program, maybe starting 5 years out. We've spoken with people who said even 10 years out, maybe to start. If you could design the perfect transition program, Mike, what would that look like?
I think it would be like a 5 year program, and uh, I guess some sort of counselors
Hmm.
that are familiar with transitioning people to a different role, and maybe a once a month, or I would say once a month council meeting.
Do you, and if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to answer this because it can be very private. Do you work with a therapist or a clinician, a culturally competent clinician?
Yes,
Yeah. How
yes,
has that helped?
it's helped a lot. It's helped a lot. I go to I at different times I've gone to um, psychologists, which they basically talk to you, and then I I go to a psychiatrist also.
When was that decision made for you? Was it somebody else's suggestion? Did you have enough self-awareness? Like, hey, I should probably talk to somebody, or was it kind of just like, I want to better myself. Let me do this.
Well, it happened, I would say, probably a few months after I retired.
Okay.
Um, I was outside fixing some portions of the roof, and when I was working, I was on high blood pressure medicine. So when I retired, all that stress went away. So I was on the roof and basically passed out and rolled off. and I, thank goodness, fell on the second story landing.
Oh, wow.
But they ended up airlifting me out, and then I had to, I had, I had broken ribs and part of they call it the transverse process in the back, and so I had to follow up with a orthopedic, and he said, "Listen, you really need to talk to somebody because he was talking to me how things happened, and he realized, he goes, you have no fear of death
Right.
or connection with the danger of something." So
Did that happen over time, Mike? Do you think that's something as a result of being exposed to what you were exposed to, or do you think that firefighters, first responders just kind of have that innately in them?
I think it just, I don't want to say when you first get on the job, but after a while, you know, you become complacent to what can happen, or
Yeah.
thinking about the after effect of death.
You get
And
jaded, don't you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I've used this example before when talking to people. When I was a new television reporter, very early on in my career, the first time I saw bodies, it was teenagers. It was like 3 or 4 teenagers who got in a car accident. And I saw their bodies and I was a mess. Like I mean, crying. I could barely keep my, what together. And I had to go live. By the time I left that station 15 years later, when I would see a body, I'd have no reaction. And that scared me. That was
yeah,
weird for
yeah.
me.
For us becomes just a natural reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see somebody there that's got cuts and, bleeding, and, sometimes amputations, and you don't, I guess we just learn how to zone it out.
Yeah. But it comes back, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does come back. And even when you're working, okay, when a family member gets hurt, then you're different.
Yeah. That's like when I got my epidural for my first daughter being born, my husband was passed out when it was happening. And I'm like, how are you almost passing out? Like, you deal with this shit all the time. I don't
Yep.
understand.
Yep. Yep.
But it's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mike, we unfortunately are talking about mental health. I feel way too often when it comes to first responders. I'm loving that we're having these conversations because I'm hoping that they are helping heal not only first responders, but also their family members. Your reaction when you hear, I mean, there's been quite a few on the Miami-Dade side with police and fire this year alone, the past, not even a year, the past few months. When you hear another firefighter, another first responder has taken their own life, are you surprised by it? Are you not surprised by it? What do you feel as someone who spent so many decades in this field?
I would say it started about with the firefighters committing suicide. I would say it started maybe 15 years ago,
Okay.
that I can reflect on. And so, yeah, it does. It's back then it did surprise me. Now it's like, okay, let's give it a 3 more weeks. There'll be another one,
Isn't that
and
that's
another one.
horrible? And I'm not judging your reaction at all, but that's horrible that that's the place where we are now.
Yeah, yeah.
Where do you see, I know we talked about retirement and missing some sort of a transition program. Where in the fire service do you see some sort of, I don't know, is it a fallout, Mike? What is it?
I guess it's just the way we were. I, I want to say raised in the fire department. When you get on,
So does it start in the recruitment
yeah.
phase? Is that where kind of this like an intervention starts?
Well, it's just the way of doing training and the things that we do. You know, you uh, the adrenaline rushes that you get all the time. So over time, it's like, okay, I'm a tough guy.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm. Don't cry. You can't cry. um, you can't get upset, and you box it up. And I hate to say it, but if I was working still, I would still be like that
Do you
because
cry now?
no,
No.
no. At times, I, um, with personal life, I get upset about things, but when it comes to the career, no, I don't cry.
Have you ever considered working with, like now, yes, you're retired, but going back in some sort of capacity and working with the younger men and women?
No,
No.
no, because there's such a generation gap
Yeah.
in the fire service that they can't relate with me, and I can't relate with them.
Do you think that has anything to do with what's happening? Because I've heard that. We've had those conversations. The camaraderie now versus the camaraderie when you first got on, or, the first chunk of your career is completely different.
Um, I don't know. I don't know on that one.
Just different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back on the subject of retirement, if somebody is watching this and they're 5 years out, 3 years out, 2 years out, 8 years out, whatever it is, what would your biggest piece of advice be to them?
If you have a spouse and if you have children, try to connect with them more. Try to talk to them more about how you're feeling, about retirement, your fears, especially your spouse. And um, I'm fortunate I have a very strong spouse, and we've been through some challenges through our marriage with a daughter that had brain cancer, and I had cancer and stuff. So we've connected kind of very strong, but I don't think it has to take a family illness to have to make spouses connect.
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important thing.
We're almost out of time, but I do want to ask this for Miami-Dade, and I don't know if it's the same with Broward, so you'd have to let me know. The drop was 5 years. So, you made that decision, you went into the drop, it was 5 years, you've got 5 years left. I bet it's like, I think it's like a mixed bag. Like, you've got 5 years left, and then like, oh crap, I only have 5 years left, right? They just extended that to 8 years. How much do you think that messes with somebody thinking, oh, 5 years, oh, now I've got 8 more years?
I don't know. I mean, because you're split in two. You want to retire, but you're afraid to retire.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe it'll help them more because they have more time to let go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't.
I'm curious the kind of impact that that's
Yeah,
having on both sides, right? It's like you said, like it's yay, and then it's like, oh no.
yeah.
Like,
And there's different types of firefighters.
yeah,
And the new generation, I don't want to down talk them, but um, they talk more about the money, the retirement, everything. When we got in the job, it wasn't a lucrative career,
right,
you
right.
know. So um, they're different. So maybe retirement's not going to affect them as much. But still, there's other ones that are really into the job. They're instructors and training instructors and stuff like that, which I did some of that, but then I kind of pulled away from it because it was pulling me away from family differently.
Right, right,
There's others that are more into everything, like myself, special ops, and then you move transition to something else, and then you promote, and you're very career focused. And then you have other ones that basically get on the job as a firefighter and they leave as a firefighter. They don't
hmm
promote. They don't get into anything.
right. It's different for everybody. There's no one size fits all for any of this. That's for
No,
sure.
no, and especially a recent um, firefighter that you know passed away.
Captain Gustin?
Yes, I as soon as I seen it, I told my wife. I said, I know exactly what happened. She's like, what? And I said, well, he was the go-to guy. He was the guru in the fire department. Not just his fire department, but all fire departments.
Yeah.
So he retired. He was still doing conferences, and he had just, when that happened, he had just recently come back from a conference. So I don't know what his personal life was like.
Mhm.
Um, but knowing how he was, I don't think he had a lot of connection with family because he was way, I was, I can't say overboard, but really into everything. He was a very busy person, and it was all fire department. Now
He
he
was.
retired, and
He hadn't retired. He was
oh,
still,
he's
he's
still going.
he was still going, which is unheard of at that age with that many years on.
Yeah.
Very active indeed, and dedicated 110%
Yeah.
is what you were alluding to the department for sure.
So I would say he probably got to the point where he's realizing he's older and he can't continue to keep up the pace that he was doing, and that he's going to be a nobody.
It's hard. Gosh, take away from this episode, nobody's a nobody, right? Everybody's
Everybody's somebody. Yeah. Yeah.
somebody. I'm going to give you, not that I'm a clinician, not that I'm a therapist, not that I'm anything. I just talk on camera for a living. But hobbies are important, Mike. That I am going to say. And I have this argument with my dad too. Hobbies are important. He would probably say the same thing that you say, that his grandchildren are his hobby.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what keeps me busy. But yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate, Mike, you opening up with us. I know that Carolyn got kicked out because of the internet, but I know that she probably appreciates it more than anybody because she started this entire thing. Thank you so much for opening up. Thank you for your honesty, and we loved having you here on First Alarm Family First.
Okay. Thank you. And
God
if there's
bless you. God
anything
bless
I
your wife.
can do to help, thank you. I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.